What's up, guys? It's Josh. We are back at Conduit 01, and today we're taking a look at the Lord of the Rings Shadow of Mordor game. This dropped on September 30th. It was pushed up from the October release date that it had seen, and that was actually a smart move. There is a lot of stuff coming out in the next couple of weeks through October and into November. Again, it was a very smart move on the company to push it out. It gets them an additional week or two of game time for people to really enjoy and pick up um, during the dry period that occurred. Um, Getting right into the game. It's set up in the timeline between The Hobbit and the Fellowship of the Rings. And you play primarily as this character right here. His name is Talion, and he's a ranger of Gondor who is behind the Black Gate, which you can see there in the foreground there. Uh, the mechanics and idea of it being brought through from the film and the explanation in the books themselves. So, um, as I've said, he is primarily your main character. There are two characters. Your second character is actually this guy, and his name is Celebrimbor. He is an elf lord trapped in the Wraith world because he is naturally dead. Hence the glow and darkness of everything. Now what I just entered into is the Wraith vision. And as you can see, it highlights the enemies around you, as well as these towers here. You can see one or two out in the distance there. Those essentially act as your fast travel points because the game is set up as an open world, free-to-roam game. And looking at the map here, you can see it's a pretty decent sized map. In comparison to some other things, it's a medium size, easy to get around through. If I had to really compare it to another map area, I would say it's familiar to the Batman Arkham City map. Um, in that it's confining to a relatively large area with smaller elements put into it. So it feels bigger than it is, really. Um, as you can see, there's different things. The areas are all broken up into quadrants, each one having different herbs and different captains and stuff like that. Um, so the captains, the Uruk-hai captains, are all Sauron's army link page here. And this is what the developers were really pushing on, was what they called the Nemesis system. Now, essentially what happens in here is, if I kill some guys like I have here, if I were to complete a day cycle in through a night cycle, there would be different captains would be challenging each other for a duel, and their power levels would rise, and some of these guys might die or just wimp out. You fight these guys in particular in order to gain your upgrade abilities and runes, which are mapped to your weapons, which are a sword, a bow, and a dagger. Now, as you can see, there's only 5 slots on each of these weapons to map a rune to. However, the difficulty is choosing which rune you're going to have. Now, obviously, for the sword, I haven't collected all of them, but as you can see, there's 4 rows, each with 5 rune holding slots. You have to find your favorites and equip them. There are your standard runes, which do very minor stuff, and then there have things that they call an epic rune, and those have particular addition bonuses to your weapon in that. And then there's the actual upgrade skill tree of the character Talion himself. Now, because he is merged with Celebrimbor, and they have a type of symbiotic relationship, you do have different types of upgrades that the character can use. There's like an elf swiftness, like kind of like a faster run for you. Uh, Dagger throws and critical finishers and stuff like that for hit the ranger side. And then there's the attributes page. This page is essentially just your standard upgrade for health, bow capacity, and a focus timer increase. And then these over here are your upgrades for the rune slots. It uses Mirian as the currency for pretty much all of this. And so, yeah, that's kind of where all that is at. It has your progression screen here. As you can see, there's different challenges and artifacts and things to be found within the environment. I've only done 4 out of the 20 missions. It's not too bad. I've been pacing myself with the game. Just trying to do a lot of the side stuff just to upgrade and get everything. And then there is the appendices. And it gives you some background on the characters and the environment and actually the lore itself, which is good for people who aren't familiar with the books or the film, and they're not like a diehard fan, but they enjoy playing the games. It gives you a lore breakdown of some of the important pieces and understandings in the environment and the legend and lore of the Lord of the Rings universe. Um, and of course, there's your tutorials to help you understand how to play the game a little better. So yeah, all around, it's a pretty good game. It's not too complex. It did receive some criticism even before it was released, in that it seemed to copy some of the stealth and parkour mechanics of Assassin's Creed. And while that is true, I don't see that as a negative to the game, more as a benefit. You're able to get into the game, and once you feel and realize the understanding that it does have that same layout, the game just seems a little easier to play because it's familiar to you. It also, in looking at the combat setting, it also feels familiar in that they took what works from another game, which was the Batman Arkham Saga, in that you hit square for your standard attack, triangle for a counter attack, and circle would be cape stun. Those are all equally mapped on this controller for this game. Square is your sword attack, triangle is your counter, and you have a stun attack for the circle button, which is him using the Wraith ability. And even that looks a little familiar in the way it moves. It's kind of very similar to how the Batman character would use his cape. He kind of pulled back and then whipped it around to hit somebody in the face. And so as you see here, it's very familiar that, he reaches back and then he pulls his fist up to give a little bit of a stun there. So, it did take some cue from very popular things, and they used what people know and what works for the game. So, I don't think it harms the game, really. It just makes it familiar to use and play through. So it is enjoyable in that context. And actually, one of my favorite features on this is seeing the use of the speaker on the controller itself. There are load screens when you first start the game up, or you get back into the world, or a cutscene goes through. And in those load screens, it shows you an image of Talion's face, and then there's kind of like whispers of memories, and they play it both through the TV and through the speaker on the controller, which is nice because it gives you that eerie feeling of, a memory kind of being played back. So it was interesting to see. You don't see much use out of the speaker on the controller. And there are other uses for it. If I crawl over into these bushes right here, the rustling of the leaves actually plays through the mic or the speaker on the controller. It doesn't really come through the TV so much. So you know, again, it's placement of sound and audio that really picks up and helps the game along. So it's very interesting to use and see. You know, you pass by a stream or something like that, the water runs through the speaker on the controller. So you know, again, it is interesting to hear and see and use. Um, but yeah, so again, you know, definitely go pick up your copy while you got the time for it. Very interesting game, fun to play. You know, especially you really want to get a hold of it before some of the other stuff comes out, because you know, I picked up Destiny. I got into that, and I took a little break just to play and enjoy this and get through this. Um, so yeah, that's it from me. Hope you guys enjoyed this. There's going to be a Let's Play just to give you a feel and look on the game. And so I hope you guys will check that out once we get that set up and released for the channel. Yeah, don't forget, if you enjoy, please subscribe, hit the like button, and of course, spread the word, tell your friends, your family, strangers, I don't care, tell people. So yeah, we'll see you on the next one, so keep your fingers loose and enjoy, guys.